Q-snap frames, Nurge hoops. What are they? How do you use them? Today we're going to take a close look at both of them to see what we can find out. Before we get started though, go ahead and click that thumbs up icon and also subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on a thing. Let's go ahead and dive in. I've been cross stitching for a long time. And when I first started, like everyone else, I used a wooden hoop like this one. They work, they're fine, but if you're using a thicker fabric, sometimes it comes loose in the hoop and it gets to be a little annoying when you keep having to tighten it up. They were good for thinner fabrics, maybe embroidery, definitely for beginners. But once I discovered the Q-snap frame, I fell in love. These hold my fabric super tight and I love them. They've been my go-to for many years. I use them on all my projects and I have them in every size imaginable. But lately I've been hearing a lot about the Nurge hoop. And this is pretty interesting. I didn't know anything about them before. They're also made of lightweight plastic and most importantly, they also hold your fabric nice and tight. So let's take a look at the Q-snap and the Nurge hoop and see what are the differences between them, maybe some tips and tricks on how to use them and which one we might like for a certain project. Let's start with Q-snap frames first. For cross stitch, these are the most commonly used sizes, the 6x6, the 8x8, the 11x11, and the 11x17. I like the 11x11 the best. I find that it's the perfect size for most of my projects. I use for big projects, small projects, pretty much everything. So this is my go-to all the time. The Q-snaps come unassembled like this, but that's not a problem because they're super easy to put together and they're easy to store. Now, when you open up the package, you'll get 4 pieces for the ends and 4 clamps. The Q-snap is made out of a hollow plastic tubing, and the clamps have a nice little ridge on the inside that catch your fabric. So to put it together, we just put the 4 ends together like this. They just snap into place. Now to put our fabric on it, we're going to lay our fabric right on top. And then we're going to put our clamps on top of the fabric. I like to do opposite ends first. It's just a little easier to do. Okay, so once it's on, to tighten it, we just rotate the clamps outward. And that'll keep your fabric nice and tight. How tight that is. So much easier to stitch, so much more enjoyable for me anyway, when my fabric's nice and tight like that. Now to remove the clamps from your fabric, that's not a problem. You just slide them right off. You don't, like most frames and hoops, you don't want to keep your working project stored in a hoop for too long. You want to avoid any creases or wrinkles. So a question you might have is, what do I do with the excess fabric hanging off the side? In this case, it's not a lot, but sometimes you have a lot extra and it's kind of in your way when you're stitching. You can do a couple of different things. One thing I like to do is just fold over the fabric and put my clamp right back on top of it, and that'll keep it out of my way while I'm stitching. Another way to get rid of the excess fabric would be to use something called a Grime Guard. This is a Grime Guard. It's a piece of fabric with elastic on both sides. I believe Deb has also mentioned using this in a previous video. So if you have extra fabric on the side, you can just roll it up and catch it in your Grime Guard. Goes all the way around the outer edge, like that. So not only does it hold the extra fabric out of the way, but it protects the fabrics from getting any kind of dirt or grease from my hands on the fabric as I'm stitching. Now, a concern might be, what if I have to cover the stitches with the clamp? For instance, my picture is bigger than this, so I'm going to have to move my frame, and then the clamp is going to go over the stitch portion. Generally, I haven't had any problem putting the clamp right on top of the stitched area and having any problem with it damaging the stitches. But if you're at all concerned, you can take a piece of fabric or a piece of felt like this one, lay it on top of the end, which is virtually over the top of the stitched area, and then put your clamp on top of that, and that'll provide that extra protection for you. The nice thing about Q-snaps is that you can make different sizes with them. So if I have an 11x11 and an 8x8 frame, I can actually make an 8x11 frame out of this. So what I'm going to do is take 2 of my 11 by 11 pieces, 2 of my 8 by 8s, put them together, and now I have a very handy 8 by 11 frame. One other thing that you can get is extension pieces, these 3-inch extension pieces. So you can use them on any frame that you have to make a different size frame. They're sold individually, and you can just make whatever size frame you need for your project. Now the Nurge frame comes in 4 different sizes: a 4.3 by 3.7 inch, 6.4 by 5.7, 7.5 by 8.6, and 9.8 by 11 inches. They come in 6 different colors, including beige, purple, pink, blue, green, and black. Let me show you what they look like and how they work. This is a Nurge frame. You can see it's made out of a thin plastic. The outer frame has a ridge around the inside and a screw on the top. The inner frame has a groove around the outer edge. When you put them together, that ridge fits right into the groove, snaps into place, and holds your fabric tight. Let me put a piece of fabric in here and show you how this works. We'll lay the fabric on top of the frame, the back of the frame. We'll put the top piece on, and it will snap into place. And then we can use use the screw to tighten it up. So you can see that, like the Q-snap, it's going to hold the fabric nice and tight. The frame itself is super lightweight, much lighter than the Q-snap. I have trouble sometimes holding the Q-snap for long. My hands get stiff and sore. I don't think that's going to happen on this frame. It's much lighter weight and easier to hold. If you're concerned about extra fabric on these, the Grime Guards work on them as well. Just roll up the edges, put the Grime Guard around the outer edge, and you're good to go. So that's my comparison of the Q-snap frame to the Nurge Hoop. I like them both. They both have advantages and disadvantages. The Q-snap, I feel like, would be a little bit better for a bigger project for me because I think it handles the excess fabric better. I also like a lot that you can make different sizes for it, so you can get the perfect size for your project. I also love that they're easy to take when you're traveling. I travel a lot, and these break down easily, and you can take them with you. The Nurge Hoop, I'm also a big fan of. I have added these to my collection because they are super lightweight. My hands, after a while stitching these days, get really sore and tired. I don't think that's going to happen with the Nurge. It's a lot lighter. It's a lot easier to handle. Plus, it comes in some pretty colors, which makes stitching so much more fun. What do you think? Do you have any favorites? Let us know in the comments below. We love to hear from you and read all of your comments. So let us know what you think. Thanks for visiting with us today, and we hope to see you again soon.